invite Steve Dubberstein to join us. Steve has worked as a radio communications engineer for 32 years. He was employed by Motorola for the first 17 years of his career. From '89 to 2001, he was based in Hong Kong and Singapore as a director of engineering for the Asia Pacific cellular infrastructure of Motorola. In '95, he had responsibility for the world's first commercial CDMA cellular system. In 2001, Steve joined Communications Service, a Motorola dealer and service station with shops in Madison, Portage, and La Crosse, Wisconsin. And from 2011 to 2012, Steve was president of the organization. He's presently the company engineer and general manager. He received his Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering from the University of Wisconsin-Madison in 1983. And Steve has presented or been a member of our panel of experts over a dozen times. Thank you for joining us. What I'd like to do is open up the floor for any questions on open-ended simulcast topics. Kind of quick reminders before I do, for those that may not have been here before or haven't heard this directly. From a Motorola product standpoint, MTR 2000s were simulcastable, although not blessed by Motorola. MTR 3000s are not simulcastable. There appears to be a 200 microsecond transmission-to-transmission variation in throughput through the MTR 3000. So those that have tried to find alternatives around it, haven't found it, please steer away from MTR 3000s if you want to simulcast them. Also, the JVC Kenwood NXR 10 series is not suitable for simulcast. The NXR 700s or 800s are, just not the 810, 710 version of the product. So those are some warnings that if you're considering things, you might want to steer towards something that is simulcastable and known to be simulcastable, as opposed to science projects, which aren't always fun when you're trying to solve other problems of draining the swamp to clear the alligators. Questions from the audience for the panel? Yes, Joe.
This was more directed at Joe when he was talking about electrical downtilt antennas. Very often at my company, we've had to do mechanical downtilt with existing antennas. I was wondering how often you've had to do antennas using mechanical downtilt instead of replacing antennas with electrical downtilt.
Joe, if you want to come to the speaker, if you would, your microphone.
So to repeat the question, is mechanical downtilt versus electrical?
Yes, at my company, a lot of the times we've had to retrofit existing antenna systems, and to tune them to be suitable for simulcast by using actual mechanical downtilt of the physical antenna. I was wondering how often you've done that with success. We've been fairly successful with it without replacing many antennas using electrical downtilt due to cost or due to the customer's demands as far as project cost is concerned, but using existing equipment. I was wondering how often you've done that, or if you've done that at all when it comes to mechanically downtilting existing antennas.
We have typically the non-omnidirectional type antennas, say a directional panel antennas, mainly where there was terrain or say a transportation route which is somewhat directional. We have done some downtilt, mechanical downtilt with, I would say, mixed optimization when it came to areas that I would say where the terrain benefited us, it worked very well. Where we're trying to do some magic in an area, maybe to solve one particular problem, I would say mixed results. Mainly because if you take, say, a DB 222, 224 with a reflector or side mount on a tower, typically I tell folks when they're ready to try to do that, especially if you have some fairly significant elevation, I think you'd be somewhat disappointed if you're a wide area system. Now, the lower that goes, rooftop, 100-foot water tank in the middle of some town somewhere, you're looking down a valley, or say a drainage, or up a canyon, yeah, it's worked. But I don't think it's as selective as a flashlight beam that this magic fix-all that's going to look up a particular area. So say, unless it was terrain blockage that we could take advantage of, or a concrete canyon, in the metropolitan area, we got fairly mixed results.
Okay, thank you.
I think the comment on also, when you're mechanically down tilting on the antenna, you don't get a fixed down tilt. You get mechanical down tilt of the degree you're doing in the main lobe right off but it's a sweeping down tilt if you look at the pattern. And it's also no longer on me. It's a weird pattern you've just created.
Yeah, it's been done. It's been done with us in order to kind of fix an issue using what we had at the time instead of changing it now. Sometimes the customer doesn't.
Yeah, I've done that as well for a temporary fix.
Yeah, exactly.
To a proper down tilt antenna.
Yeah, generally we go with electrical down tilt antennas for new installations, but sometimes we use existing systems when we're upgrading.
They rarely operate the way you expect them to when you mechanically down tilt. But so you can go back and find out what you actually did.
Yeah, the software helps with that, but you're 100% right.
Yes, Lee.
I guess a secondary follow-up down tilt to the question, Joel. Working on use Paris Raptor for modeling coverage, and we're looking at the system that's been plagued with issues since it was deployed. Just kind of curious, we're coming up with a magic number somewhere between 18 and 22 degrees of like a down tilt to fix a near far coverage isolation issue, as well as dropping transfer power way down to solve some of this capture effect problem. Does that sound too far out of the ordinary? And you've alluded to at least 12 degrees, as many as 15. Is that?
I would say the higher numbers from a manufacturer that specifies, say,
I was looking specifically at Sinclair at the time.
Sinclair, as far as which band are you talking about?
This is
UHF. I've had conversations with them of trying to increase the down tilt, electrical down tilt. Because right now, the only model, I've got a sheet up here on it, unfortunately, is only 10 degrees.
Yeah, that's actually, I've had a conversation with them about.
You're not the only one.
18 degrees is the magic number I think I need. 10 degrees gets me 50% of the way there, and I was going to have a follow-up.
They do custom work. I mean, the 12 degrees was kind of an AdCom push years ago on a large project that we did. It was vinyl by the train load. So, I just reach out to them and see what you can do. If not, get out the engineering books and make one. I mean, we made a few as an experiment. Not everybody's able to do that, but if you're not dealing with an omnidirectional system, or mechanical down tilt in a particular area, but that's not always the luxury we have to get to deal with, obviously.
I just want to make sure that, obviously when you get that far off of a given pattern, some distortion of the pattern, you use a 10-degree pattern and continue to tilt it down a couple degrees to get it to where we're at. We've got a conversation with them, a follow-up today to show. I just didn't know if that's something you've run into in the past, or it sounds like it's really just reaching this point.
Well, when we get into that type of a problem, what part of the world are you from?
This is going to be in the Berkshires out in central Massachusetts.
Okay, so it's extreme opposite from the West Coast that we deal with our little 7,000 mountains. But a lot of cases, your friend's going to be maybe lowering that. That's counterproductive to what we're all thinking. And I think this example of smaller coverage areas, lower ERP, a lot of cases too, power pads in there to get it down even lower. I mean, I've had some simulcast sites that have dealt with the Canadian border with line A, if you're familiar with that. 3 watts, and you go, wait a minute, 3 watts, how do we make this play? But, it comes back to the state public safety folks. You're not running around with a 50-watt portable radio, guys, and I hate alligator simulcast or radio systems in general, especially in the trucking world, that, there's a few cases, I say, just get rid of the mobiles. Of course, people freak out when you say that, but the reality is you just need some more sites, and they probably need to be lower. With that 10 degree, if you start to bring it down and you're pointing over rafters, you'll quickly see
Oh, yes.
that site start to shrink and you're able to control the coverage.
And again, it comes back to the near far.
Yes. Yeah, I'm afraid, you know, it's, you're probably gonna have to lower a few sites.
State-owned sites, pre-Tennessee kind of thing. Sites were given, they don't seem to have any money to move them, want to relocate them.
I feel your
And
pain.
this is a quote-unquote cheap fix, and, you know, that's really why I want to kind of ask these questions. I'm actually having this active conversation aside from this, I figured it'd be an interesting thing to bring up.
Yeah, I would say you're gonna have to lower sites. I mean, it's back to what you can capture and what coverage you can provide, and the other side of the equation, you know, is the uplink side of it too. And I'm afraid that, you know, when it comes to safe harbor, line A and line C, and, you know, another nightmare we're dealing with that we didn't touch on is just the noise level of VHF. It's just driving me insane, because I'll go back years later, site that was, you know, 6 dB noise is now 26 dB. And office environments, I see some head shaking, that you walk in, and I almost don't believe it when they say the radio system doesn't work. And I go, wait a minute, man, there should be like -50 out the front door, and maybe 70, -70, 90 inside the building, you get in there, and it just goes away, look at the spectrum analyzer, and you go, oh my God. But that's the good thing about lowering a lot of sites. I mean, we did a recent system where they had 2 sites for a county, and they now have 12 sites. And it cost a lot of money. They didn't believe us, and then now they do. And it's one of those things we have to balance noise, safe harbor, and coverage.
Please.
Early in my career, I worked on cell systems, dealt with some of the first down tilts when it started being using mostly mechanical. You do the trigonometry in any kind of a down tilt. You know, if you're in the mountains or something like that, it works. But if you're below, say, 500 feet and you start tilting, what you find is by the time you attenuate something, you're hitting the ground maybe 2,000 feet, 1,000 feet away from the site with any low. And that's kind of a sign that you're almost getting to the point where it's ineffective. It's not doing what you want. So in simulcast, the main thing you never want to have happen is one site hop over the next one, because you can't fix that. So if you have one site, if you go over the next site, and then you have an area where you're above the capture threshold, then you're in trouble. And you've got to do something to fix that. Once you fix that, the next thing to try is timing up, launch timing offsets. And I encourage you to look up, I did a presentation 5-6 years ago. It's on the web. That shows how to use ComStudy and other software to do timing offsets. That's incredibly effective as long as you're not hopping one site over the next one. That's the #1 solution. And anytime I see or I talk about lowering power and lowering a site, to me that's kind of a coverage killer. And the kind of systems we deal with from Wisconsin, most of the sites are 200 to 300 feet. And, you know, if you start lowering the power, you're just killing the indoor coverage, especially for pacers. And so, I encourage you, the first thing to do is find a way to optimize so you don't hop over one site, then next try your simulcast offset timing, then see where you are. Because if you tilt significantly, you're basically aiming it right into the ground. And it's almost like turning it off to a degree. Well, you upgrade in-building coverage, you want 1,000, 2,000 feet away. I mean, because you're directing everything right into that building, but that's sort of how it ends up.
Thanks. Can I add one more thing? Please. Yeah, that's why we're here.
Back when I was in the paging world, over all of North Texas, I had some engineers tell me I had to change out all my antennas on a certain channel to a heavier down tilt. Simulcast, you know, it was going all right, but it was nowhere where it is now. So we changed out the antennas, thinking, man, this is going to make it a lot stronger in our local area, going to solve a lot of problems. Instead, we had worse coverage. Come to find out is the engineers did not study the drawings on that particular antenna when they told me how much the downhill was supposed to be. They were mechanical, well, they had a little screw on the bottom where you could adjust them and work it through the night. And they told us to put them on 8 on the line. Problem of it is, the upper loads came down. So they were going way out there and interfered with the other side on the upper load. Yeah, we had good coverage down here. But the timing gets messed up in some of the areas that we never had problems before. So really watch your antenna coverage on your patterns, because that upper load keeps on down here.
In other words, there is no free lunch, and that's what you want to optimize. Yes?
I also use Raptor as a coverage prediction tool, and I would like everyone's input up there, including Ed, on what some target delay numbers and capture numbers would be versus the simple VHF and UHF analog simulcast system. And I guess the reason I was asking is I've done a ton of research, and everyone seems to have their own, numbers. And so I just like your opinion.
So you'd like 4 more numbers to consider?
Absolutely.
Add together, divide by 4. Yes. We'll go down the line.
It's kind of like cars, sports, and religion. Back to the slide that Joe put up, that 83 microsecond number is just a good way to start with. There isn't a perfect number. It boils down to the topology, the system, the budget, what you're allowed to do, and it's all balanced, as I mentioned before, instead of squeezing people in effect. I would start there and just start playing with numbers. I mean, part of our jobs as engineers, is really spending quality time, I believe, in the office messing with this stuff. Be it Raptor, comp study, or some online service, and just really playing with it. And then do yourself a big favor and don't be an engineer that just does it on paper and then gives it to a shop, and then you show up the day it's commissioned, or when the ribbon cutting starts, because especially with the younger engineers, they try to get them out and say, hey guys, this is the real freaking world here. You need to get out and see what you're doing and what's working in reality. So to answer your question, I would probably start there, but I can almost guarantee you're going to get different numbers. I disagree with Joe even on the 10 to 15. I tend to be a little more conservative in a sense, because you can go back and make some changes. And if you have the technology, especially today when you're out in the field, and I have a laptop, I can change the timing to the VPN in, I have a PC that talks to the interflex as an example. It's so cool. It's so fun. I almost have to slap myself, I'm getting paid to do this. But it's just amazing, a few microseconds here or there, but that you can make changes. But to conclude, I would say that, don't always assume it's some timing number when you may be dealing with other ancillary base station issues, or like Ed kind of alluded to, when, mixing and matching modulators and hardware. I've seen some real weirdness that I've had a lot of cold dinners with. So the main thing is just to understand, go out and verify, and it's every simulcast system is different. I mean, there isn't one. That to me is what makes it so exciting. So hopefully I answered the question.
When I start doing it, I start around 83 microseconds, and I might play with it afterwards during setup, trying to figure it out a little bit better, fine tune, see exactly what I have in different circumstances. dB level, I like to see at least 20 dB differential. Sometimes I don't quite hit that. I don't like going down as low as 10. That bothers me, because some of this just depends on the radio. In my case, I don't have control over the subscriber. They're Motorola, but I don't know how well they've been maintained or what the troopers do to them, because they can pretty well destroy an animal with a rubber hammer. So I try to get at least a 20 dB differential and go from there.
So first first thing I'll confirm is you gotta make sure everything's working right. So, you know, everything's in phase, you get all matching transmitters. Check that first. You know, do a check online or, you know, live, your scope and everything else. Just make sure everything's lined up, because if anything like that is screwed up, that's your problem. Then from there, I think you're asking how can you use software to kind of optimize the system. So that's a presentation they did 5 or 6 years ago, if you pull that up. But the numbers I tend to start with, so I'll try to start with about 50 microseconds on an analog system. And then the number I tend to use for the interference ratio in the software is 10 dB. I mean, you need more than that, but mind you, the software is running like a 95% prediction model. So maybe that means more than 5% of your area is over 10 dB. It's kind of just from experience what it takes. You can kind of work with that in the software. So then you get up, you pick some bold color that show your areas that are above that. And then you start playing with your timing offsets. And you try to reduce that. Once you've done that, if you're getting it until it almost disappears, you're in pretty good shape. But usually you'll get some sides of hills and things like that that show up that are kind of a little bit irrelevant. But if you can get, say, a 50 microsecond in the software with a 10 dB interference thing, looking good, and just a couple of colored areas in your system, that system will sound good. This is kind of from experience, a little bit subjective, but from experience. And you know, if you can make it a little bit better than that, you're fine. Typically, when I'll do it and sit down and do it, I mean, once the whole system's set up and you get everything modeled, it usually takes me less than an hour to go through all the various timing offsets, because it's a little bit of experience. Usually you leave the main site at 0 and then you're offsetting from the launch delays from everywhere else. But the launch delays will vary between, usually the minimum I'll see is 15 microseconds. That's a 3-mile launch offset, because it's 5 microseconds per mile. So you're saying, I'm going to launch my main site, it's going to start going, and then this side I'm going to wait 15 microseconds so it's going to launch. So that like moves, basically moves to the interference point 3 miles. And you can just look at, you can just look at the plot, see kind of how far you're away and kind of do it. And we still typically have it's 15, a couple of 10s, a bunch of 25s, most of them it's about 30. You get more than that, it's kind of, you're getting, you get some problems, you get some other problems. But boy, you do that, you can really fix the system you would otherwise think wouldn't work at all, just with timing off, launch offset, basically launch delay offsets.
I think another thing that we should consider is it's often difficult to tell the difference, for instance, between simulcast distortion or distortion caused by standing volts, and the software will not predict standing volts. So you just kind of got to build an experience based on that. So if you have the luxury, set up a system, purposely introduce simulcast distortion, go drive around listen to it, so that you know whether that's really what you're experiencing or not. And yeah, I don't know, Joel said 80 hours, I put in hundreds of hours in on software modeling systems. And you go out and drive and make comparisons. And the software is pretty good, except for standing nulls.
Well, standing nulls are, you know, this is a statistical function for Raleigh fading. So, you know, typically if you have about a 20 dB, you Raleigh faded with typical Raleigh fading in FM, you're going to be dealing with about 5% of the time where the Raleigh fade is 10 dB or 20 dB or more. You just want to run that thing. So what you're doing with a simulcast system is just trying to minimize the number of areas where you're going to have that kind of, you know, static. If you're running into that a lot, that means you do not have, you know, 10 or 20 dB. You're running almost the same signal when you hit that point, if you're kind of moving and seeing that a lot. But you should see it, you know, in typical system less than 1/20th of the time that you can start to notice that. So it's just a statistical thing. So.
Thank you. This wraps up the project recap and technology portion of this year's forum. I know that some of you need back to the show floor for your booth openings. What we're going to do now is have a quick break, have Don Scott set up here for a discussion on JPS's new products. I'd like to give this year's speakers one more round of applause.